Hi, everybody. Ooh, look at that light shining in. And you can see my crystals. Oh, that looks so beautiful. Let's make sure I have my sound off. So welcome. Nice to see you, Tamsin, and Loracle Tarot. Not sure if I've seen you before, so welcome. Oh, wow, it feels like very magical. I have, there's a large cut crystal in the window and it's just sparkling. I'm facing to the setting sun. That's so cool. So I'll sit back so you can see my face. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. So tonight I'm going to share with you, we're going to talk about, again, continuing on with the court card series, and we're going to talk about the kings and how they show up in lots of different decks. And I thought I would also do a bit of comparison with the emperors as well too. I pulled out the emperor card for each of the decks that I've got ready for tonight as well too. Hi, Jen. Nice to see you. And Jen, I really, I want to do a big thank you to Jen. She did such a good job yesterday. I did some live readings and she was absolutely the best moderator. I know how much work that is. And she was the only mod that was on. And okay, so you are buffering. So let me know if other people are buffering, if I have to go on and come off. So Loracle is new. Nice to see you here. I'm a newer subscriber, but used to be, Laura, Pages of Cups. No buffering there. Okay, good to know. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate the feedback. So yes, so Jen, thank you. Thank you very much. And maybe you need to restart, Jen. It looks like everybody else is okay. I am hardwired in, and so I've kind of learned the hard way that where I am located, I have to be hardwired into my modem, and I am. So hopefully all is well. That's great. So I hope you heard, Jen. Big thank you to you for yesterday. I really appreciate it. And as a gift to you, before we sign off tonight, I would like to do a reading for you because I know I didn't get to you yesterday. And as well, I will do a reading for one other person. So it's 6 o'clock now. So just, soon after 7, I'll do the reading for Jen and for one other. And I'm going to come on and do the live readings more often. I know there's a lot of people that do them, but it's just, I don't think there can be enough readers out there right now kind of helping people move through the energy of all this stuff that's going on. And it feels like, I don't know what it's like where you are, but where I am, the restrictions are just, so I live a ferry ride away from Vancouver, British Columbia, and we've been able to travel back and forth quite freely. And not that I'm traveling a lot right now, but a week ago, I did go to Costco. That was a funny story. If anybody's interested, I can share what Costco and COVID is like. But now it's restricted to just emergency travel only. And so we're pretty much stuck here in we have to rely on the commercial traffic that's coming over, bringing over the food for the grocery stores and so forth. So hi, Ashley, nice to have you here. Can you tell me your email again, please? Yes, I would love to correspond with you. So it's my website. So it's info at my website, which is integrativehealingwithsadhana.com. And yeah, so I would love, maybe I'll just scoot over. So I'm not, there we go. That's better. And, oh, hi, Ange. Ange is here as well too. And a couple of things came up yesterday. So I'd like to share these with you because this is important, I think, to know when Oh, and I want to comment on the readings as well too. So something, I watched the playback, and one of the things is that in the playback, even when it says live comments, you're not getting all of the chat. There's some way that the chat gets restricted, and you do not see um, all of the comments. So you might hear me talking to somebody, and it makes no sense because they're not in the chat, but for some reason they were there. Now, I don't know if people actually go back and delete their comments after the fact, but I find that it was really strange. So, and there's also a delay. There's quite a bit of a delay. So I can be looking at the comments, and I don't know how much the delay is, but it makes for a lot of confusion. So thank you very much for your patience. This on this live, as well as every single live for all of us that go. Yeah, it can be really. Hi, Ashley. I think I said hello to you already. So welcome. Yeah, really nice. Oh, hi, Leanne. Nice to have you all here. So, and then the readings. So I used 3 decks yesterday, and the 3 decks that I used, the one I was using was the Way Home Tarot, and a lot of people were asking what I was using. And so this was a really good reader yesterday. And I also used the Victorian Fairy for one reading, which is a deck that I've been using all month. And I think I started using it around the mid-March. It's a really beautiful deck for spring. And I found that I should really do a video on it. It's really good for telling timing. And I have found the timings with that deck are really, really accurate. So the seasons, instead of having the suits of the elements, the suits are by the seasons. So the suit of wands is the suit of spring, and so forth. And so all of the cards are related to a season. And it's done really, really well for some of the timings. Yeah, and I have a cool tarot story to tell you too before we get started tonight. Oh, good, you looked up that deck. Oh, and the 3rd deck I used was Lily White by Celia Mailsville for a couple of readings. I don't have the one that's called, is it called White Lily? There's another Lily deck that I've looked at. It's really beautiful. I think it's available on Make Playing Cards. I don't have that one, but anyway, so those are the 3 decks I used yesterday. And I also noticed that there were a lot of majors that came up in the readings yesterday. A lot. And I don't know what that says to you, but I was only doing 3-card readings, pulled 4 cards for some people, and people were getting like 2-3 major cards per reading. And I don't know, have you been experiencing a lot of that lately? Like feeling that readings are pretty potent and powerful? It was, I was surprised how significant all of those readings felt. Anyway, yeah, those were some of my observations from yesterday. Okay, so let's go to the Kings. And so just kind of recapping what I've done so far. I started with the Queens, talking about the energy of the mother and how all of the other court cards are kind of birthed from the Queens, from the mother. And so there's this connection, there's this relationship between the Queen and the Page, the Queen and the Knight, the Queen and the King. And I think there's so many layers to this. In part, we do need to get away from the gender identification of the court cards. And we also need to bring into that layer the whole idea of the birth coming from the feminine energy. For the most part, the birth is not coming through the male body. So there's a lot of layers, and I know that the trend, the tendency is to get away from the gender identification with the court cards, but I think there's a piece that you can't avoid. And so when I'm doing readings, I qualify the things I say, especially if I know if I'm in a sensitive group, and it is. We've heard me say this many, many times. Like, I embody the energy of all of these kings just as much as I embody the energy of all of the queens. But there is that aspect, right, of the actual the creation process. Of course, there is the seed from the king, but there's the actual the birthing into this world from the feminine energy. So I don't know. It's all kind of interesting. So we spent a week. Well, we spent 2 weeks ago talking about the queens, and then last week I talked about the relationship between the knights and the mothers, and so introduced all of the knights, and then we looked at that relationship. And as I was preparing for tonight, I really wanted to do kings and knights, but I think we'll just do the kings, and then I'm going to talk about the relationship between the knights and the kings. So yeah, so I'm just going to just check in with the chat here. Yes, so I have the lily white and the lily black, but there is another deck. There's another lily deck. And so the decks by Celia Melville are Lili white and Lili black. And then there's another lily deck that I've looked at. I would really like to get my hands on. And Ange says, yes, she thinks it's because we're all going through changes at the moment, the planet. Yeah, and for those of you who do astrology, you'll know there's a lot of kind of heavy energy coming down right now. Jen says the couple of the readings she has done have surprised her in that way too. Yeah, so that's good to know that other people are noticing that as well. So, hello, Tamsin. And Ange says the planetary involvements have something to do with that this month, and then something major in July and again in October. Mars is square a couple of planets in Aquarius this month. So yeah. So this morning when I was shuffling cards, and I was getting ready for my yoga class this morning, and so I did actually pull a king card this morning, which is pretty funny because I hadn't decided this morning whether I was going to do kings or pages, and I pulled a king card. So that was kind of the energy that was presented to me. That's from the Numinous Tarot. I'll try to make sure I mention the decks. I know sometimes I don't always do that. And then as I was sitting down on my mat and getting ready actually to teach the yoga class, I was just shuffling away because sometimes, when I'm very intuitive in the way I teach. I've taught enough classes that I try not to make a plan. I try to kind of listen energetically. And if it's an in-person class, see what it is that people need emotionally to help release that through their physical bodies and so forth. Anyway, I was shuffling, and this Daughter of Cups card was the one that I drew. And so I really kind of went into that energy of that Page of Cups, and the rawness of the heart and the exploring of the emotions. And so I did a lot of back bends, a lot of heart opening postures, and it just felt really right. And the other thing I like about this card is the way that it is so organic, that connection to the heart space, just the way that the flower, possibly a dandelion, is coming up. And then I'm thinking of the medicine of the dandelion and all of that. And so, yeah, it's really interesting how you can incorporate cards into so many aspects of your life. So yeah, so if you want to practice yoga with me, I'm on Zoom Thursday mornings at 9 Pacific time and Monday nights at 7. So Monday nights is a all on the floor, super relaxed, restorative class. And Thursday mornings is also really gentle, but we move a bit more. So yeah. All right. So King of Wands. Let's start with this one. This is the textured tarot. And actually, this is a really good deck for looking at, for getting away from the associations of gender. And when I am looking at, these kings, and when I think of the King of Wands, I think about that natural born leader. It's the kind of leader that is able to, people enjoy following this leader. This is a super dynamic, passionate leader. And there's something about the connection to that element of fire, and all that the fire represents deep at the core of this leader. And it makes this leader really, it has like a magnetism. Magnetism is such a perfect word, both for the queen and the king and the fire. So I really feel that of all of the kings, that if you're looking for a leader, that this is the king that's might very well do the best job as far as getting people to follow and keeping that vibe going. Sometimes when we get into a project or we get into something really big at work and the leader doesn't have that energy to follow through, this is the kind of leader that keeps everybody going and keeps everybody, excited, and it feels vibrant and it feels new again, even if it's something we've kind of lost. Hi, Paula. Nice to have you here. So the kings have a vision. They have a vision of their experience. They are a master. Don't like to say over or of their element, but while the queens internalize, they embody the element. We talked about the inhale and the exhale. The kings have a way of managing it with so much skill. So they really understand the quality of the fire. Keep in mind words like kingdom, and they are, the master of their home. And these qualities of the kings, and I'll get back to the King of Fire in a moment, can be embodied very much by a woman, by a gender neutral person, right? It's not associated with gender. It's this dynamic leadership, fiery quality, and there's this intense passion associated with this particular king. And in general, they're all a foundation of strength. There's a sense of illumination, and I think illumination is a beautiful word for this king. And I'm thinking of other court cards as well too. So here's a couple of animal cards. I thought it was important. I haven't brought in animal cards into this discussion. But illumination is, I think, it's connected to spirituality as well too. And I think sometimes we forget the connection of spirit to the suit, to the court cards and the wands. And so there is that sense of connection to that. And of course we have it in the element of air and the element of cups as well too. The other thing for me with this particular leader is that there is, when I examined this card, this is the Lumina Tarot, and I'm looking at what he's standing on, And I imagine this is a suspension bridge. And as a little boy, he's probably the one that liked to bounce on the suspension bridge and scare the crap out of everybody who, was very timid to go across the suspension bridge. But as a kid, he liked to bounce and he would be the first one to run across it. And as an adult, he's kind of like standing over, like he's really comfortable in all of that playfulness that he had as a child. We talked a little bit about the queens as lovers, the queens as partners. And of course, it's important when we're doing a lot of relationship readings to also kind of consider what kind of a lover, what kind of a partner this energy is. And the kings, now, it's so funny. Every time you say something, there's another way to look at it, of course. So very loosely, actually not, for me, it's not. For me, all of the queens embody the chalice. So they all are about the element of water. That is their native feminine energy. And the kings are the opposite. So the kings are the blade, right? So the fire element. And when we're looking at this particular king, he has a double fire element. So if there is, and there are shadow sides, of course, to every single king, his is this double fire element. And so fire tends to travel very quickly. And so this is a king that likes to move. He loves to travel. He likes change. He likes to go to the next project. And he probably, will have his eye in other directions in relationships as well, too. Like he likes to have wide open space and be able to have these new opportunities to move. It does almost look like a sunflower behind him. Isn't that interesting? And some people might see some kind of a lunar eclipse experience. So I think as a lover that I wrote down from the Druid Craft Guidebook, just as fire needs air, this king needs wide open spaces in his love life and physical surroundings. And so this passion that is associated with this particular king, there's so much strength in this king, this passion. Here's something very different. This is the Elder of Fire. This passion that's associated with the king, with the element of fire in the king, is reflected in this deep knowledge as well, too. So we associate knowledge usually with the king of, and with the element of air. But if you think about the passion of the element of fire, we've got all of this experience that's embodied in the kings, and a passion about this experience, if that makes sense to you, right? So whereas the King of Swords can appear just more rote, more of a know-it-all, more of a professor, a scientist, this king is passionate about what he knows and what he knows well. Okay, so yeah. And I did bring out this deck, I think, in the other video as well, too. This is the New Era Elements. And when I look at this king, I'm thinking of the, weathered by the sun, but also at home in the sun. And so this, if you think about where these, sometimes, how in a reading, people ask, like, where should I live? Where should I go? Should I move to Mexico? Should I move to New Zealand? Or people ask these kind of questions. And so sometimes if you get a bunch of court cards, maybe there's a clue into where this character is going to thrive the best. So the king of fire is not going to thrive in a cold climate. And so that might help you. Does that make sense to you? That might help you to answer a question about where, right? Or a culture. Because this, and then I'm thinking about like a Latino culture, right? That kind of a passionate culture. So this king, this queen, this knight, this page of this suit of wands is going to thrive in a vibrant salsa, spicy culture, right? They're going to feel at home there. They're going to love it there because things are full of fire, full of action. I'm just going to fan these for you because you can see all of the orange and the, right, how that element of fire is there. There's also, so the spiritual connection to this particular king is through the, I'm thinking more of the life force energy. So whatever you call that, it goes by so many names with different thoughts. But when I think of this king and I think of the fertility and the virility and the that kind of life force energy, I think of the potential for that. I think of, so in the teachings of Tantra, in the yogic teachings, that marriage of the feminine energy and the masculine energy. So when the Kundalini rises and then the Kundalini descends, and there's this beautiful union, I think of that spirituality is between, on the king's side, between the king of fire and the queen of cups. So that's another kind of interesting association. So yeah, really charismatic. I find all of the energies of the wands super charismatic. Thanks, Paula. What else I got for you? And if there's anything that you want to share too, like I love like bouncing off other people's ideas. I don't know how many of you do lives, but sometimes it's really weird sometimes just to be sitting here talking to nobody. You know what I mean? Like not hearing what you're saying. And that's one of the fun things about Zoom and doing the Zoom chats, right? Is you see somebody's face and you get a response, even though it's partially delayed as well too. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the swords. And this is if you've seen some of my court card videos, I feel, and actually I'm starting to explore this king in a different way. This is the King of Swords from the Marielle. And there's something about this king that I really, really like. And it's not, if you look at these two, so the Tarot of the She and the Marielle, they're very similar. And the reason that I like these two cards is because there's the marriage of the element of fire. So I said all of the kings being connected to the element of fire. And then we have the element of air. So the dragon. So with the dragon, we get the element of fire. And then this particular king is the element of air. So these cards just really speak volumes to me. And these particular decks speak more to the King of Swords as the warrior, right? As the soldier. And I really feel the ninja warrior, the devoted to the the Bhagavad Gita. So if you're thinking of somebody like Arjuna, right? This is your Arjuna. Or maybe your Arjuna is more your Knight of Swords, because he, not until the end does he find his way. but these, yeah, these are really dynamic and beautiful, beautiful cards. My chat is not moving. I hope I haven't lost you. So, okay. And then, so there's that aspect. So warrior, soldier, there's that hard, lean body, right? Kind of thing. And then, okay, I'm just going to go to my phone because my chat is not moving. I know, Jen, you had this trouble the other day too. I was watching one of your videos and the chat just all of a sudden died. Make sure this is off. Bear with, sorry. Okay, we're all listening intensely. All right, looks like I haven't missed anything. So there's that sense of the warrior, the soldier, and there is definitely an intensity to that, but I want you to think more. So this is a king. So this is not the hot-headed soldier. This is this, and you can think of this in context of other occupations as well too. But this is the that next level, right? This is your colonel, right? I don't even know what the designations are. That's not my area of expertise. But in contrast to that, we have this whole other range of occupations that are associated with this. And a lot of them are very well educated. So these are professionals like surgeons, various kinds of professors, lawyers, that kind of thing. Those kind of professionals that are not the element of the heart space, right? That is not really their forte. Like if you think of most surgeons don't have the best bedside manner. I know that's a generalization, but that kind of idea. Most lawyers are very, they have a huge range of expertise and knowledge, and they can rattle off all kinds of things. They tend to have a tremendous memory, a huge vocabulary, but their expertise is not in socialization, that kind of thing. And that is, of course, a stereotype, and that is one extreme. When I look at a face like this one, I see tremendous wisdom. You know, I see, oh, I don't think I pulled, oh no, that's the Hierophant. I was going to say the Dalai Lama, but the Dalai Lama is the Hierophant in this deck. And I see that this particular King of Air has reached that point where that knowledge, all of that learning has become more on the side of wisdom. And in the teachings of yoga, that is referred to as buddhi. So there's this shift from all of that knowledge, the process of becoming of knowledge becoming wisdom, and becoming inner wisdom, and becoming associated with something much greater than what was learned in the book. And then, you know, in all of these cards, we have these associations with air, and you'll see a lot of musical instruments in this particular suit. Like in this deck, the Numinous I showed you already, we have bells. And so if you go, we didn't talk about the solar plexus chakra with the last one, but this one, so we have sound, right? So we're talking about air. Oh, and then there's all these other confounding things. So in yogic teachings, this is ether, this is air. But for the most part, through the tarot, we associate air with sound, and sound being connected to voice and communication, and as well as many other things. So I just want to show you a few more of these cards before I look back at my notes. This is the texture tarot. This is your young professor. Just going to see what we've got here. I like how the Urban Tarot labels the courts by profession. Yeah, that does a really good job. And they mix up a little bit with the two, the Knight and the King. There's just something, I forget what it is. There's a different energy with those two. I'll bring those in next time, because I definitely want to have a look at the relationship between the Knights and the Kings. So I think this is a pretty stereotypical association with the King of Swords. This is Tarot of the Hidden Realm. And so we have that pensive quality. He is looking, feeling into the kind of like the universal consciousness, right? It's like this deep inner wisdom, inner knowing. And I really like that. And I really sense that with, with the animal decks in this suit. And then I showed you these two already, who are deeply connected to that beautiful blend of the elements. So with this king, we have I wrote down, one of their greatest gifts is the word. And this is another beautiful thing. So VAK. So Vak. Vak is one of the boons in yoga. So that is when one gets to the point where, that saying, be careful what you say, or be careful what you think, because it will come true. So in the teachings of yoga, there's a certain point where you get to this certain level of purification, and what you say actually becomes manifest. And so if there is a king who has the power, the gift of the word, the gift of communication, it's definitely this king. And also for writing as well too, communication at all levels, clear intent, sharp focus, articulate, so articulate, and speaking I'm going to say not the truth, but a truth, and speaking a truth very, very clearly. And of course, on the shadow side, it can be rather harsh, because there can be a tendency to a lack of compassion. And ideally, we want to embody qualities from each of these kings. So we can embody the compassion of the King of Cups with the knowledge and the wisdom, of the King of Swords, and the passion, from the King of Fire, and so forth. This King of Swords is a great orator. So it can be not an orator in a sense of speaking for a passion, right? I'm thinking like a Martin Luther King or something like that, just because of that gift of the words. But when I think of Martin Luther King, I think also of some qualities of the King of Cups in there too, because of the amount of passion that comes through with those words. But there's definitely, some elements of the King of Swords in there. Yeah, kings. So I don't know which one of the kings is the most challenging for you to read, but I think for me, the King of Cups is, and I have a hard time reading the King of Cups. I'm not going to show you the Marielle. Try to keep this PG. Yeah. So this is one of my favorites. I also really like the King of Cups in the Sasrai Bito Tarot. Ashley says the King of Wands is usually difficult for her. And Jen says King of Wands too. So I did a couple of chit chats on the slow tarot, because I know the King of Cups in that deck was really hard to read. And so we did look at that already. So the King of Cups. So on an embodied positive side of the King of Cups, that person, that energy, they are going to be there for you and support you and listen to you much like the Queen of Cups will, but there's a sense of a tremendous sense of guidance. So remember that the kings are more of the exhale. So it'll feel, you might feel inspired. There might be a sense of action that comes with the King of Cups, because the King of Cups is naturally going to have some kind of passion, fire, direction behind their compassion. So I find King of Cups energy is not just receptive, listening and compassion, but there's also a sense of they might give you a little bit of direction. So when you go to talk therapy, whatever you want to call it, and you can go for weeks and months and months and months, and the therapist sits there and goes, how do you feel about that? Can you say that in a different way? And it's about you coming forth and you listening to yourself and you kind of moving out in a way. So to me, I know I always quote movies, but another one of my favorite movies, I've watched it many, many times. It's Meryl Streep and Alex Baldwin, and what's it called? Oh my goodness. And I'm thinking about the scene where she goes to her therapist. She hasn't been to her therapist for a while, and she finally says to him, I know how this works. I know how this works. Just tell me this one time, just tell me what I should do. And he actually says and gives her direction and says that she should go for it. It would not be a bad thing for her to do that. What is that movie? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That movie, Ange. It's a really funny movie. So I feel that the King of Cups has that a bit of direction, a bit more direction than the Queen, because he has that sense of leadership and action. And so here we have a dragon, or a sea dragon, in this particular one. So in the Tarot of the She, we have that element of fire with the sun behind, and then the king being embodied in the water. Yes, Steve Martin is in that movie too. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. Okay, I just want to, I'm getting these decks mixed up here. So there's quite, I showed you that one. And then when you have a card like this, like I find this like really challenging to read. Very challenging to read. So it's really helpful to me if there's little clues within the card, and because it is, water. So let's go into the whole idea that this king embodies the element of water. So that means this king understands the subconscious. This king is okay with going deep. This king might be able to help you to reveal your subconscious, reveal what is being held below. I'm just going to go to my notes here. I was just thinking about cocktails as well too. So, but not just cocktails, not just alcohol, but this king might be the one who likes to, who enjoys being in altered states of consciousness, right? Because this king likes to explore the subconscious, likes to explore altered states. And that might not necessarily be through hallucinogenics or anything. That might just be through very advanced meditation or pranayama practices. So there's also that. And then, of course, there's just simply the deep connection with the element of water. And we were talking about where you might find a King of Cups, right? So a King of Cups is definitely, the odds are a King of Cups is going to have a boat, or have friends that have a boat, or have grown up near the water and being wanting to move back to the water, or have that sort of association. Yeah. So there's that. And then remember that there's also that association with the Holy Grail in this suit. And so when we think of the Knight of Cups and the quest for the Holy Grail, so the king has had that experience. And so there's that deep connection to the spiritual quest and the search for the meaning of life. And this particular king as a partner, if you aren't in sync with that, it might just be a lot. It might be very difficult to be in so much water with this particular king. But on the positive side, this is a king. So this king has that balance of the fire and the water. And so in theory, this king is the hexagram of the heart chakra, just like the Queen of Fire is. So the Queen of Fire and the King of Water are perfect partners, right? Because they represent that balance of the two elements. I really love this particular animal card. And I see this huge blue whale emerging from the water. And so having that strength and that power to emerge from the water. Yeah. What time is it? Okay, we're good. So I talked about altered states, subconscious dreams. There might also be all of the court cards for the cups. You can also look for associations with the moon card, with the high priestess, with any of the shadow stuff that's coming up, and the tendency towards any mental health issues. So when you have a preponderance of cup energy, there's always that conversation. If you go to that kind of conversation when you're doing a reading. Yeah, so the mythology of the moon, the shadow work with the moon, and then also, so we're thinking of the element of doing my thing the wrong way, of water. So water is associated with the second chakra. Second chakra is where the relationship between desires and passions, and bringing the all of the issues with the devil card into balance. And so there may be that kind of energy that can be brought in. And I think this is one of the reasons why I find the King of Cups is so difficult to read, is because I find more associations with this king than any of the other kings. And it often takes a few, more than a 3-card reading to kind of pull out what is the lesson, what is the teaching from this particular king, because they have many, many, many layers. Okay, so I'm just going to check in with what's going on here. I love the King of Cups with this Might Hurt tarot. I see it and think of someone in charge of his emotions, but he just rides then the waves. Yeah, that is beautiful. And then another favorite, the colors are beautiful. Loracle says that. Okay. Yeah, Druidcraft has amazing. I really like the court cards in the Druidcraft. All right, so the last king is a King of Pentacles. And I've spoken about the King of Pentacles in other videos. I know, I'm fortunate to know a few of them. And one of my favorite, I'm not sure which tarot book this is from, but this is the carpenter that builds his own throne, you know? And you can go with that similar kind of quote. Hi, RB. Nice to see you. What is the quote? Yeah, it's been associated with Jesus. It's been associated with Confucius. It comes in a few different variations, but basically, give a man a fish and you will feed him for a day, but teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for life. So the King of Pentacles is the one who's going to teach you how to fish. He's going to teach you how to build your throne. He really embodies the skill of the mastery of the manifestation. So he will so he's definitely going to teach you how to do that. Amber, sorry, Amber's not happy. Come here. Come see mommy. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hi. Hi, baby. Hi. Oh, I know. The kids have ditched her. The kids have ditched her. So he's definitely going to make manifest your whatever it is that you need, right? I feel like this king is definitely going to be in the kitchen. He's going to be in the workshop, and I think we tend to, with this suit, make this suit, the mundane qualities tend to surface with this suit. We focus on the materialism of this suit, but there's so many beautiful qualities around this. Sorry, doggies banging the table around this king, and it is. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. We need to understand that this king, the energy of this particular court card, really understand. It's like, I think we talked about this. I read something from the Tarot of the She last week or the week before about how each of the elements build on each other. And so the King of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles embody all of the elements. And it's from the passion, from the thought, from the feelings that we were able to actually make manifest something. And so that Knight of Pentacles and this King of Pentacles are not the ones that are going to be taking off. They're here, they're home. They are great partners because I feel like they're at a place, they're at a level where they don't need to be taking off and looking for new things. They're very confident in all that they have accomplished. And there's this real sense of groundedness with them. And I think that comes from many different places, but mostly experience. And it's we can go really esoteric here. So if we're talking about something like reincarnation, the King of Pentacles might be an older soul than a King of Fire or a King of Swords, right? A real kind of embodied old soul kind of energy. This one reminds me of Humphrey Bogart. So let me know what you think about that. And this one, even though there is a bear, this is the Lumina, there's a bear in the card. This one has that, those qualities of, it feels very material to me. But I think you will get that, right? This is often a king in a suit, right? A businessman, somebody who has worked very hard and made a huge commitment to all resources in all aspects. So resources of time, resources of money, right? Lots of all of his resources, all of his energy. And so hence we have that association with the businessman. There's something I wanted to read to you here. consistent and cautious investment in time, energy, and money. So yeah, so this king is, yeah, really, really lovely energy of a king. Yeah, we won't look at the Marielle on this one either. So here's an example. So I'm going back to the Tarot of the Sheep. And you can see like you're looking actually at the craftsmanship. And if you think of Shadowscapes Tarot, you're going to see that as well here too. And here's the Elder of Earth at the spinning wheel. And this is a really good example of, being active in the creation and inspiring others to do things. And this king will give you money for university, but this king will also guide you in the direction that is best for you. Like this is some really lovely, and this, oh my God, this is another one of my favorites. Love this one from Tarot of the Hidden Realm. Arby says the King of Pentacles is very practical, hardworking, not as exciting as some, but dependable. Both my grandfathers were Taurus and very warm and funny too. Yeah, here's the two animal decks that I pulled out. And you remember what I was saying about the connection of spirituality with every single king and queen. And when I look at this one, I think of the antennas here. Antlers, kind of like as a direct link into the universal consciousness. And in the Lily White and the Lily Black Tarot, in the Tower card, we have a mature buck, perhaps, who has shed his antlers. And so the thing about this card, and I would have never thought about that if Celia hadn't, I just think that Tower card is brilliant. So in her Tower card, the buck has shed the antlers and there is lightning in the background, but there's this vulnerability and there's this acceptance with the cycles of life. And when I think of the element of Pentacles, the element of Earth, the suit of Pentacles, I think of that embracing of the cycles of life. So the court cards in this suit, embody and to embrace change and to embrace things as they come around. What else have I got here for you? Not inclined to take risks. So I was talking about how the King of Wands, I actually didn't talk about that. So risk-taking will be associated more with the King of Wands and the lack of risk-taking more with this particular king. Manifest on the material plane, creative achievements, abundance, security, health, nutrition. We talked about this yesterday. So when the court cards for the Pentacles come up, don't forget to steer towards issues of health as well too, because this is the body. This represents the body, the earth, and the extension of the earth as our body as well too. So yeah, I find it's actually a very easy. It's very easy to pick up on what's going on with the Queen and King of Pentacles. So I just briefly want to touch on this because I think it's important, and it's a question that often comes up. Is like, what's the difference between the kings and the emperor? And what happens if you have a king in a reading and an emperor or multiple kings? And it came up yesterday as well too. Love this emperor from the Marielle. This particular emperor, all of the elements are represented on the card. And I think if you look deeply within Emperor cards, that is a important thing to understand, is that the each of the kings has a forte connected to a particular element, but the emperor is skilled in all four elements, and the emperor embodies all four elements on his light side. Okay, so of course the emperor has a shadow side as well too, and it's like the emperor is the king of kings. I've heard it put other ways, like the emperor is the CEO and the kings are the senior managers. However, I think with the emperor, there's also this tremendous amount of responsibility. And there, on the shadow side, there can be a lot of calculatedness. So the emperor, just think about the context. And I mean, it goes for kings as well too, but when I think of the connotation of emperor, I'm thinking about going out and conquering new lands and spreading and the empire. And so the emperor will sacrifice anything to serve his own vision. And I think that's a pretty fundamental difference between an emperor and a king. But a lot of decks don't really go there, and you get very much with this particular emperor, you get the energy of king of earth. And so it's really going to depend on the deck. This particular one, so this is from the Naked Heart. I believe this is one of the cards that changed. I don't have the new version of the Naked Heart. This one, for me, reminds me of that connection to universal consciousness. So with the Empress and the feminine energy, we're connected to all that is manifest on this plane. So the feminine energy is the earth, the Mother Earth, whereas the divine masculine energy is connected to the sky. And so that's what I get in this deck, is the all that is manifest with the Empress, and all that is connected to the universal consciousness with the Emperor. Yeah. So definitely there are sometimes subtle and sometimes profound differences between the kings and the emperors. So I'm just going to read your comments, and then I'm going to do a couple readings. So Jen, I don't know if you want to type out your question, or you want me to just, I've got your question from yesterday written down. Let me just see what we've got here. Ashley says, sometimes I look at the King of Pentacles as a financial advisor type of person. For sure. Definitely connected to finances. And Jen says, my hubby always shows up as a King of Pentacles, just really stable and together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Marielle Emperor is just, it's really well done. Sorry, as sorting out a money transfer. Okay, we'll see you later, Paula. Good luck with all of that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the question for Jen. Okay. So Jen's question was in regards to the future of her career. And just bear with me. I was petting the dog. I just want to smudge my hands. Okay. And I'll smudge the deck. Yeah. Career. So Jen, just take a few deep breaths and Get your feet on the floor. Maybe your hands on the floor. And then close your eyes and still your internal gaze and really give yourself, just take a few breaths. What is it about your career that you would like clarity on? What is really in your heart about your career? Okay, so you asked about direction. And then I will look at there's a few people yesterday that didn't get a reading, and I'll just see if any of them are here. And if not, I'll just pick somebody at random. Oh, whether you should change paths. Okay. So how I'm going to word this is, I want to know what the energy is around the work that is in your highest good. What is the energy around the work, around the career that is in your highest good, that is on track for you, on path for you? So the work is in alignment with your own soul journey. Does that make sense? Because then you'll know if, with what comes up, if that is in alignment with what you're currently doing or if it's not. Okay. Don't you just love shuffling cards? Did I ever tell you my story about how I learned to riffle shuffle? That was I just have this beautiful, beautiful memory. I was at a summer camp and I was sitting on a fence, and I think I was about 6 years old. And I had a deck of cards. I have no idea why I had a deck of cards and what I was doing sitting on this fence. But I remember sitting there for hours and hours with my feet bent underneath me. I was off the ground, up on the top of the fence. And I just sat there for hours shuffling cards until I figured out how to riffle shuffle. So, yeah. You wouldn't think I had done it for years, though, the way I'm shuffling cards right now, throwing them all over the place. Okay. All right. So I acknowledge Michelle and Ashley. I'm only going to do one more after Jen. So. All right, Jen, the energy around your career. I got the Daughter of Swords first. 4 of Cups. 2 of Pentacles. The Star and the Devil. You're a psychologist, right? Or something like that? So to me, this looks like a no, because I think that's what you do. The Daughter of Swords, of course, would indicate that you're considering something. And in this particular, I've put 5 cards down. The Daughter of Swords is looking to the past. And so the question I want to ask you is there a Is there a career? Is there something that you wanted, like when when you take those tests at the end of high school, and a career path that you didn't take? Like, have you been considering something that you regret, a path you regret not following? And the reason I'm asking that is she's looking to the past. But then we have the Four of Cups, and you all know the energy around that. The Two of Pentacles, which is about bringing in balance. The Star has this energy of being a beacon of light for people. And then we have the Devil, and the Devil, which I'm going to do a whole video on. I will speak to that in a moment, is about allowing, is about that work. It's about that work of working with people's subconscious and of bringing all of their desires and their addictions and everything into balance, and to helping to shine light, so that the Star card is shining light on the work of all that shadow work and those difficult questions. And so it looks like, you're very much on path with the work that you are doing. There's no real other alternative, just not sure I want to keep doing this, or at least to take a long-term break from it. Well, it's a gift. It's definitely a gift that you have. And I'll pull one more. Okay, so the next card is the burnout, 10 of Wands. And so you may very well be needing that, the time, the recovery time. I mean, it's exhausting, isn't it? Right? It's exhausting to be in that place, to be in that role, 4 or 5, 6 days a week. And especially if you're in a small community, that sense of being overwhelmed with seeing people. I mean, we're not right now. That's actually fortunate because we're in self-isolation. But to be with that all the time, and to see people out in the community who potentially are clients as well too, can be very, very challenging. Okay, so I want to look at the last card I pulled and just kind of talk about the saturation of the suit of fire, and to kind of look at your question about what does the break look like, because you probably need to find work. If you're going to move away from this, you're going to need to find work. So I'm just going to kind of carry on with this little story here. And there may be resources within that 10 of fire. There may be I just want to kind of stick up the energy of this deck. Okay. So if the solar plexus chakra is if the sympathetic nervous system is fried, if we are experiencing adrenal burnout, we need to nourish the kidneys. We need to bring in lots of water. And the break needs to feel cooling. The break needs to support the digestive system. So, sorry, I'm just going on here. I'm just following a train of thought here. So one of the ways to nourish your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self is to make sure that you are nourishing yourself, your digestive system. Okay, so that definitely needs to be a priority, not just for the actual physical digestion, but also for your mental wellness as well too. Jen, these are all cards that I would associate with your current career. So if I look at this whole storyline, I've told you what I've got so far. Um, I have an Ace of Cups, a Two of Swords, and a Mother of Swords. So perhaps there is a variation on this occupation. Like, have you considered like really putting energy into your tarot reading business? Because you can take all your work as a psychologist and really kind of, apply everything you know from that and put energy into creating and developing your career as a tarot reader. It really feels like you're very much on path. So you just need to kind of shift it a little bit. So, because everything here looks like, the answer is you're doing the right thing already. Mm, yeah. So, if there is, and I'm looking at the Two of Swords and the Two of Pentacles, and so right now, as you are, if you're taking a time off and if you're shifting gears, that I would say it's important not to, you can't drop everything and run, but to very gradually, let go, not take on any new clients, and to allow this transition to feel balanced. So as you, yeah, right, as you wind up your work, are you able to pass on your clients to other psychologists, or is that something that you can do? Um, the 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 processing of the burnout sometimes also, sorry, the whole idea with the burnout also can come from the excessive caretaker syndrome and the inability to feel like other psychologists can do a good enough job, or other psychologists can take over for your clients because you are so attached to your clients. And so that might be some inner work that you need to process through. The Ten of Swords and the Ten of Wands can really speak to um, really looking at the own ego, because when we look at the solar plexus chakra, often that is connected to a tremendous attachment to ego, and that unwillingness to step down. And that's why we got burned in the first place, is because we think nobody can do it as well as we can. Yeah. So it is hard to start over again. But I think that I feel with all of these cards here that um, it's definitely something that is going to work for you, and people are going to be receptive and responsive to it. So I would, this is a beautiful time to start making a business plan. I talked about yesterday, it's not the time really to take action. And as you, for all of you, when you are going through these transitions, for me, just tuning into the energy of the moon cycles really, really helps, because right now the moon is waning. And then in 12 days or so, we're going to have the new moon. And so that's the time where you want to kind of reach out and talk about if you're going to lease space, or you're going to uh, open up a new Etsy shop or something like that. You want to do those things in sync with the natural cycles of the universe. Okay, so look at those words there, Jen. And so put yourself into those words, and ask yourself about the fear of letting yourself down. And so as your inner work, those are the kind of journaling exercises that will really help you to find clarity. But it's about getting deep and dark within yourself as well, too. And, if you hadn't asked the question that you did, this is definitely a storyboard of that kind of inner work as well. So I'm just going to show you the cards one at a time. Okay, so there is your daughter. And then the 4, the 2, the Star, the Devil. Okay, and then your burnout. So there's the first part of the story. And then in the kind of the transition as I carried on with the story, and I didn't speak to this card, is the 8 of Wands. So that is a real surgence of energy. And so to really kind of like, I feel like meditation right now would be really, really good for you in this process, not just journaling, but meditation, and to like keep your channel open to listen for insight. And then it was Ace of Cups, 2 of Swords, Mother of Swords. So that when you go to bed at night, and this is good advice for everybody, when you go to bed at night, make sure that in your prayers, in your whatever you do before you go to bed at night, that you ask to remember when you wake up. If it is in my highest interest, please give me the gift of remembering when I wake up. Okay? All right. Okay, so I'm just going to look and see who didn't get a reading yesterday, if anybody's here. Tamsin, are you here still? Tamsin, are you here? I'm just going to wait and see if she's still here. And then Audrey, are you here? Audrey Nash. You're welcome, Jan. I'll just wait a second. So beautiful, beautiful evening here. I'm going to shuffle the cards. And if Tamsin says hi within the next second, or Audrey, I will go to them. And okay, then I'm going to go back. Aw, Ashley is telling about her shuffling story as well, too. That's so cool. I'm going to go back and look at this. Okay. So, sorry, just bear with me 1 second, because there was 2 of you that piped up right around the same time. Jen is a Sag. Alrighty. Okay, I can't find it. It's so hard scrolling through the chat to so the next person who comments that says I would like a reading, I'll do one more reading, and that will be it. Yeah, I don't know, it's like with the delay and everything, it's really frustrating. What's your all right, Ashley Moore. Oh yeah, Ashley and Michelle, they are the 2 that commented earlier. Okay. So I'll do a quick 3 card for Ashley and a quick 3 card for Michelle. So I'll do Michelle first because your question is there. So Ashley, write your question down, and then I'll do a quick 3 card for you as well. I would like a general reading on my sister Elisa and her well-being. She's been going through a lot over the last 4 months. Okay. So really important, Michelle, to allow yourself to feel everything that you're feeling, and to make sure that you have a vehicle for sharing your feeling. I can feel the tension in your heart. So whether that is through talking to friends or journaling, or really letting your sister know how you're feeling, or somebody, because it's important that that emotion is released from your physical body. One of the things I wrote down here I didn't talk about tonight, is the word emotion, energy, energy in motion. And it's really important that that energy is flowing all of the time, right? Okay. It's really important that she's the one that makes the decision and commits to the decision. What I want to say is that it's important that her friends and her family respect her enough, and to give her the space, and to trust that she knows what's best for herself, and to encourage her to turn within, and to really trust that she knows how to move forward. So this stuff that she's going through, this experience that she's going through, is life altering. It's life altering, and it is going to transform her in a way that feels like, it looks to me like she's going to come out the other side feeling a whole lot better. But she has to be brave enough to trust herself to make the decisions herself. And she has to be brave enough to navigate through this transition. And whatever she's going through is a transition. And it's definitely in her highest interest. Okay. So please let her know how. So she's got the judgment card, right? So this is like the final stage. It's the final reveal of this particular stage of her life. And so she really, really needs to be supported, and to not have people second guessing her. Okay. So this is what the other side looks like. It's really beautiful. Okay. I hope you can pass some of that on to her. So Michelle, your personal emotions and feelings, just make sure that you are expressing that, and that you're moving through that yourself. Okay. Yeah, it would make sense that she's got the judgment card there with cancer and divorce at the same time. Sometimes we it feels like things are happening to us. But the best thing somebody ever said to me, it is for you. Sadhana, it's for you. It's for you. It's for your greatest good. And right now, you're just like so focused on the story. You're so focused on your own drama. You can't see the big picture. And we can't see the big picture. We can't know the big picture. But just to keep coming back, keep coming back. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's for my highest good. Maybe one day I'll tell you the dramatic story of my separation and divorce, but it's not really important right now. What's important is that we all send love and light to Alyssa and to Michelle in supporting her sister. All right, so 3 cards for Ashley. She's a mom of 4 and has a full-time job and was just laid off. And I'm nervous and overwhelmed, wondering if I'm still going to have a job to go back to. You're welcome, Michelle. Okay, Ashley. Take a moment, please. Ashley. Actually, my throat feels really choked up. My throat feels like almost like it feels like I can't breathe. It feels like. So what I want to say to you is I want you to start singing. I want you to, if you know any Sanskrit mantra, I want you to start using your voice and to sing with the kids, to sing in the shower, to find some inspirational music, something like Amazing Grace. That anxiety needs to be released through the throat. You need to start using your voice. Another thing you can do is just hum. There's a beautiful yogic pranayama exercise called Brahmari breath, bumblebee breath. You can look up bumblebee breath on YouTube. And basically all you do is you're just humming. You just take a big breath in, and for the exhale breath, you just go, and you can close your ears and close your eyes. It's a beautiful way to purify the throat. So there's a message for you about purifying your throat. And so that also speaks to you being really crystal clear about what it is that you want, and to really be mindful of your language and the words that you're choosing at this time. Remember the power of language, right? Language is so powerful. It's energy. Okay, so be very, very mindful of the words that you're choosing. Listen to yourself talk. Catch yourself, and then edit and say it again in a different way, right? So be the manifest through the power of your own language. Oh yeah, it feels like it might be slightly different. It might be something it might be something slightly different, but it definitely looks like you're going to have something really good to come back to, for sure. It really looks like that, because I pulled the 10 of Swords, which feels like, it feels like an ending of, what I was saying about the throat, and think about the 10 of Swords as the end of the, I don't know what word to use here, but all of those false truths you've been telling yourself, right? All of those half truths. It feels like the end of that. Like, cut the crap. Really need to say what you want. And it feels like this is the opportune time to really carve that out for yourself, carve that out like a sword. And then I've got 3 of Pentacles, 2 of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune. So it really feels like you will be moving into something, with others. And there's this kind of, it feels like a new path for you. So be really, really open and connect with other people. And yeah, it's definitely a yes. Okay. So I don't want you to worry about this, but be open and receptive to other people's ideas and be creative. Okay. As you are considering other things, because it's there. You just need to connect with all of the possible resources that are available for you. Okay. Okay. There's your toxic store. I'm just catching up with the chat. So yeah, so that feels good. So definitely moving away from that store would be a good thing for you. And you know what this feels like to me? Like, maybe you can create something with other people. Like you can create your own store, whatever that is. So be open to ideas and working with others. All right. So thank you. We've been on here a long time tonight. Thank you very much for all hanging out with me, and I wish you well. Stay safe and be in touch. I put in the description box below the other ways to get in touch with me. If you want to come to my Zoom yoga class, the links are there. And I look forward to seeing you all soon again, either in somebody else's chat or on mine. Stay well. Namaste.